We'll return to our program in a moment. But first, I'd like to talk to you about housekeeping. Recently,
Shawn Windsor
was interviewing a prospective maid and asked her how she was on light housekeeping. Well, I'm sorry,
Mr. Windsor,
said the young lady. I never kept a lighthouse. I admit that's an old joke, but it generally gets a laugh.
You asked interrogative questions around my suit. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, Mel.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Al?
Hey, kids, it's your old pal, ML Elrick, coming to you to represent, and this may be the last time I get to say this year, my undefeated Michigan State Spartans football team. So I am very, very happy to be able to say that. And I'm also here with Mark Fellhauer and Shawn Windsor, who consumed a lot of college football. Somehow in our run-up to the game, we did not talk about one of the biggest but most underreported stories in college football. I hesitate to say it's news because it's come to be expected, but whenever a university with the name State in their name goes to the big house, there's an incident in the tunnel because they just can't get control of that. It's chaos. It's pandemonium. It's dogs and cats living together in Ann Arbor, stealing signs, cheating, lying, fighting with teams in the tunnel. It's outrageous, and I don't expect Mark or Shawn to say anything about it because Mark is still telling people, have you seen the Connor Stallions doc?
I don't even know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Was there really an incident?
There was an incident caught on camera between Fresno State players and
I had no idea.
Players.
What happened?
There was some jostling, some back and forth, some exchanging of heated words, the kind of thing
Is this what you do as a Spartan fan? You just look for dirt on Michigan?
No,
Why aren't you more concerned with your own team?
I don't have to look for dirt on Michigan. It's on the front page of the paper almost every day these days. But I just thought it was funny.
Is that an exaggeration? By the way, how you doing? Did you get some sleep? You look good. And can we reconsider your intro? When you say old pal, I wonder because you're not old, and I'm not sure you're anybody's pal.
Maybe it's OLE.
Oh, I like that.
I'm not Scandinavian. I thought we were friends, Shawn.
Well, you and I are, but did you get some sleep, by the way? You look refreshed.
I did get, I spent, I took 2 cheap trips to the beach in Muskegon over Labor Day. I got to tell you, folks.
So some of that fresh water you got, that's the ticket.
If Lake Michigan unsalted, if you have never been to Muskegon, you absolutely have to go. Not only is it a beautiful waterfront community, they have some of the best public beaches in the state. This is a portion of Michigan where Lake Michigan is swimmable from Memorial Day till Labor Day. They have craft bars. They have a social district downtown where you can go to one really cool bar, buy a drink, walk down the street to another really cool bar, get a drink there, and
Are you working for their Chamber of Commerce?
Did you swim, by the way? And what about what's
course.
the dangerous? What do you call that?
Riptide.
The riptide. Yeah. When it pulls you back out.
Now, the most dangerous riptide that I've ever seen was a bar in Bucktown in Chicago that was open till 5 in the morning. It wasn't necessarily a tough place, but if you're drinking till 5 in the morning, you're in trouble.
Did you go get the cheeseburger at the Billy Goat after?
That's downtown in the Loop, but no. But my boss and former colleague, former partner in City Hall, James Hill, a well-known figure at the Billy Goat, where he used to go a lot when he worked at the Trib. And Bush is one of the guys who works there, one of the longtime Billy Goat guys. And if you guys are old-time Saturday Night Live fans, you'll remember that the Billy Goat was kind of the inspiration for the Cheese Boogie sketch with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, who knew about it because they were Second City guys from Chicago.
And if you ever go there, they'll remind you of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're living off it. Now, there's also a place in Chicago in sort of the South Loop where it's the inspiration for White Tower, the movie, or no, White Palace, the movie with Susan Sarandon and James Spader, where he becomes infatuated with the short order cook. There probably is an old lady there willing to have sex with young guys, but they don't really play that up as much.
What made you think of that right now?
You know, it's funny that movie.
Chicago hamburger places that are still living off their reputation.
Ann and I watched that movie together in the theater before we were married, and I remember it caused some issues, right? Because we were similar difference in age, and so she was she thought, oh my God, because she thought she
what
was.
have I got myself into?
Exactly.
So I got one last Chicago restaurant story.
James Spader is at least 15 years younger than Susan Sarandon.
Oh yeah, and that was the whole thing. Is he was this sort of yuppie guy who falls in love with this very earthy and lusty blue collar girl, and his parents were against it and all that other stuff. But hey man, Susan Sarandon. So I knew this woman, beautiful woman, great singer, just super cool. She was so cool and so engaging that she was a friend of mine, and they had another friend, and this guy was so in love with her that when he realized that she would never be with him, he went into the seminary. That was the story that they told. So she was turning men who couldn't stop thinking about her into celibates, because if they couldn't have her, they wouldn't have anybody else. So pretty amazing. Anyways, she was a lifelong Evel Knievel fan, and she was working as a waitress at this place in Little Italy in Chicago. And Evel Knievel comes in. She's like, "Oh my God, it's Evel!" And so she waits on him. And at the end, he gives her a $20 tip, and he goes, "That's $10 for each of those legs." And ever since
That's
then,
on brand.
She's hated Evel Knievel. Yeah, she's
It's
like
on brand for Evel Knievel. That's the kind of daredevil he is.
Speaking of old stories, my boys were talking about when you went camping with them, or they were on a camping trip and you happened to be there, and they were trying to remember.
There were other people there. This is not a creepy Scoutmasters, just so we're clear. It's not Canteen Boy.
The way that started.
Yeah, let's get to the part where everybody's there and it's very wholesome.
I specifically started it that way.
Okay.
No, but they were wondering. You were talking about farting, and they were saying that there had something to do with a pepperoni pizza or a pepperoni.
Ugh.
What was that? They couldn't remember that.
I don't know that anybody was talking about farting, but there was something about pizza coming, and somehow it led to Giuseppe Browneye.
Because they were talking about Giuseppe Browneye, and they were trying to remember the context.
Yeah.
And I thought they thought it had something to do with pepperoni.
Again, there were people there. This was chaperoned.
Sounds like grooming.
There have been no recriminations, no
you say-
allegations.
Sounds like grooming.
Who said that? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
no,
crazy.
everything was above
talking about a
board. Everybody had their own tents. Let's just be clear about this. I don't want there to be any confusion. Boy, we go from Evel Knievel to Giuseppe Browneye. I thought talking about the Michigan
I just thought it
Wolverines
was funny
gonna
that
be nasty.
I just thought it was funny that it popped up the other day. They were all laughing. They were both laughing and chuckling as they were recalling it, but they were trying to remember some of the details. Like, oh, Mike, it's so funny. We love. They used to call him Uncle Mike. Mark. They used to refer to him when they were little as Uncle Mike.
Aw.
Yeah, it's like, is Uncle Mike going to make us sit on his lap again? Never happened. That is not. That's totally made up stuff.
They
That's
haven't been
true.
in. They have not been in any kind of sessions where they're trying to dig for recalled memories or anything like
Yet.
that.
Oh, jeez. Well,
Yeah, God, hopefully not.
you wear one Speedo camping, and there are people telling stories for the rest of your life. It's unfair.
The potato's supposed to go in the front.
I think what threw him off is
Yeah. Why don't they talk about Uncle Orida? Let's hear about that dude. I mean, that's the one
I
you
think
want
what
to keep
threw
him
him
away
off
from.
is that they were used to seeing men with hair on their chests and legs and so forth. And he looked like an
young
Olympic
boy.
swimmer out there. You know what I mean?
Hitler Youth.
And that's
now
Speedo.
bare chest, that didn't happen. In fact, I remember it was very chilly out there in where was that?
He said he wore a Speedo, and
It was chilly, huh? Is that why
they're
you
like,
guys retired to the
like,
tent?
Papa, why doesn't he have any hair?
I just remember being admired for my sleekness.
Your physique.
But where was
Your
that? That was somewhere out by what's the little resort town by Port Huron?
Yeah, no, it was somewhere out there. By the way, my brother, who's a vet in the area and went to school at Texas A&M, he grew up in Texas. Some of his Texas buddies still give him a hard time because he was a lifeguard at one point in school and he used to shave. his entire body. Sit up on the lifeguard.
To be a lifeguard?
Well, he fancied himself a swimmer or something too, and maybe you.
Well, unless you're a competitive swimmer.
He
why
was
are you
not. He
shaving
was
yourself?
not. But no, yeah.
I mean, I've
that's-
seen Baywatch.
that's why they-
Hasselhoff was hairy as hell.
That's why they give him a hard time, because he wanted to be up there and glistening and with no hair.
he deserves a hard time.
Okay, so I never really watched Baywatch. I don't know where I was, but there was an episode on it. It was one of those things where it's that hour in the morning where you're like, I can't fall asleep, but I'm not going to change the channel. Hasselhoff and the black cop who used to hang out at the guard shack were trying to bust a drug ring that some kid he had mentored got involved in and got killed. And the way they were going to break it was Mitch and this guy were going to beat two hustlers at basketball, 2-on-2. And of course they do, which is ridiculous.
How many points did the black guy have?
He was the shooter. He got them all. No. Mitch was total Kurt Rambis, just banging guys in the paint. But, they do those things and they slow it down. But no matter what they did, it was horrible to watch. David
terrible.
Hasselhoff, not an athlete, not a singer either, even though he did very well in Germany, but just terrible to watch. And if I were them, I would have looked at the dailies and said, why don't we beat them at dice? Let's do something else that doesn't expose how unathletic we are.
There's a new four-part
I was just going to ask you, why is Baywatch popping up all over the timeline right now? That's it, right?
Because of that documentary and some of the stuff that Joshua Jackson was just a mess. He's the kid. He was Hasselhoff's kid, Hobie, on the show.
So who was the biggest star?
Male
Probably
or female?
Probably Pamela Anderson.
Pam Anderson, without a doubt.
yeah.
I mean, it's not even close. Eggert probably comes close, but no, I would say Pam. But
CJ.
They talk about that's
CJ's not here.
It's funny how you know all these character names
Because I was listening to the Drew Lane show. I like to.
You'll know this
I
story
like to
because
promote the other shows on the network.
that plot line
Even the ones
reminded
that are struggling.
me of Kelly Slater, the famous surfer. He joined the show because he's a famous surfer, and they wanted some, I guess name. And he got
somebody who actually looked like they could do the things they're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah. Although he's a surfer, not a lifeguard.
Maybe he drowned.
They did hire a real lifeguard, some guy that won a lifeguard challenge, which just when you look at him didn't fit the mold of what that show was. Anyway, Kelly Slater, all his friends ragged him for being on the show, all his surfer buddies. And then he realized, the writing on the show is not really good because one of the plot lines was surfboards kept disappearing into a cove and they didn't know why. And so they went into the cove, as lifeguards would, to recover surfboards. And they found that there was an octopus in there stealing the surfboards. And that was a plot line. It's just terrible.
The writing's bad when the surfers are all sitting around passing a joint saying, that dialogue, it's so unrealistic, man. There's awful. No way anybody would.
What are you a
believe
surfer from Ireland, or what's going on?
I'm channeling Spicoli. They have surf off the Blasket Islands in the Sea of Erin. You may have seen that during one of the Star Wars movies. They got breakers out there.
Do they? I figured you for more of a Van Morrison type of.
Not a big fan of Van the Man. He's kind of a dick.
Oh, you don't like his music?
Not a pleasant guy. No, I like his music, but he just not someone based on his reputation where I'd be like, yeah, that's my guy.
Oh, that reminds me. I had a song that I thought Mike would love for the
thanks for sending it over.
For the show today. I saw it last night. It's a Spanish version of a Smith song, and I thought, this would be right up Mike's alley, and then I forgot.
Well, Morrissey loves Hispanic males. He became incredibly popular about 20 years ago among young Hispanic men in L.A. And I don't know if it's because he moved out there, but I heard an interview with him where he's like, I love the Hispanic men. Such beautiful teeth. That's, what are you, talking about horses?
We build our show around this guy? That's great.
We do have something coming up in room 7609 that I think is going to provoke some very, very lively discussion. And there's a backstory that when you hear the music, you'll say, it better be a good backstory.
We don't really need the backstory. Can we?
In this case, we need we need a back scrubber.
Yeah.
We need.
Do we? Yeah. Speaking of back, though, can we go back to Baywatch just for a second?
Sure.
Did you watch? I don't know. Have you watched this documentary? It's not out.
I have. I've watched almost all of it.
So you watch this documentary. Here we're talking about Baywatch. Does it? When I was I've been spent all over the timeline the last several days, and it just makes you realize, not that you don't already realize, but it makes you realize even more how much television's changed. There's so much good television out there, and there has been for a while. Mm-hmm. I don't know that a Baywatch could exist.
Oh yeah, it could
right now.
Yeah,
is there anything equally vacuous and just awful that's that popular right now?
Almost anything on broadcast.
A non-reality.
I think so. I haven't watched The White Lotus, but as I understand, there's a lot of really good-looking women in The White Lotus.
Yeah, but that's a really well-written.
White Lotus is fabulous,
right? But I mean, I think
it's like a movie.
it's being slipped into us now, where people are. It didn't sound very good when I put it that way, but what's happening is Uncle Browneye. What's happening is
you
that
were in the Speedo, weren't you?
No. I orange trunk. In fact, I have orange swim trunks
The
that I've been
Baywatch
wearing for
trunks.
years. That people think, "Were you a lifeguard?" I'm like, no.
I was an extra in Baywatch.
Don't drown. Yeah, people see me in a swimsuit. They know I wasn't an extra in Baywatch. But although I am developing quite the A cup, but the whole thing with these shows now is the writing is really good, and I think the sex is almost incidental, but it's a big part of the shows. You know that we, because of cable and because the way things have gotten right, we don't have to sneak in. And it's like Baywatch. These women are wearing one-piece bathing suits, but I don't know how the surfers knew what the dialogue was, because how many people watch that show with the sound down and not just because of the shitty music?
It's funny. Like The Sopranos, there was nudity all through The Sopranos. There was a lot of sex in The Sopranos, but there was nothing sexy or sensual about almost all of it. Right?
Sure. I think they could reboot a Baywatch today.
I think they would too, and I think they'd sneak.
Would it be the hit though? Would it be the same hit?
Well, nothing is going to be a hit like things were in the past. There's just too many options now. Well, but I think it could.
Yeah, I think they could do it.
Yeah, but there's still shows that gain a piece of the cultural.
It's hard. It's really
even
hard.
If you're not getting the numbers. Like Ted Lasso is a great example of something that was talked about all over the place. I don't think the numbers were huge, but. Right.
Yeah, but they were also selling subscriptions, so they were converting.
Yeah, but
it
became kind of a phenomenon in a way, and so it's still possible.
Well, Succession was the same thing.
Exactly. Game of Thrones.
Somebody said something when Succession ended. It's like, well, I know they had 100,000 viewers because every one of them tweeted about it. Became a thing. Like, I watched Succession. It was a status symbol.
I gave up on it after like 4 episodes. I'm like, I just don't care about this show.
You know, it's interesting. We just watched. We just finished watching Shogun. The remake of Shogun, which is
it's good, but it's a hard watch.
It's because it's violent, but
no, because I had to read everything. I had to read the whole time. I couldn't be on my phone at the same time.
It's a spectacular show.
Tokyo Vice is the same way. You can't fall asleep to Tokyo Vice.
I like Tokyo Vice too, especially the first season, but Shogun is just spectacular in every way, and it was the most watched show on Hulu in its history and all that. And yet it didn't gain any larger cultural, nominated for all these Emmys, and yet there's not a lot of chatter about it. I mean, it looks like a Kurosawa movie. It's incredible.
Should have been on Showtime. Maybe that would have made a difference.
But you're right. I mean, 70% of the dialogue's in Japanese, and those actors are unbelievable.
I know, but it makes it hard.
How did
for an American guy like me to watch?
No, you settled it. You got to put your phone down, man. You can do it, can't you?
How did the reboot of 90120 do?
Terrible.
Really? Because I think that may be either a cautionary tale to Baywatch, like don't do it like they did.
Well, the only problem with rebooting Baywatch would be I think people are sick of reboots. They're just sick of retreads.
Except for Shogun, for some reason.
I think
but that was a much older show. Like I don't remember that show at all. Shogun?
Richard Chamberlain?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't remember that at all.
And in the original, Richard Chamberlain was centered around him, and in this one, it's centered around the Japanese. Anyway.
Well, I want to center this show around the sponsors. Awkward segue. Luke Nowacki and Pinnacle Wealth Strategies will help you plan for a more secure future. Do you have a strategy for retirement? If you don't, Luke does. So call him. We'll tell you how to get in touch with Luke a little later in the show. Kaju Cafe just finished the Muscle Beach Music Festival. The good times keep going on at the Kaju. In fact, every Monday is Muscle Madness. On Wednesdays, there's karaoke, or karaoke, as some say. On Thursday, this week, Northside Organ Trio. Friday, Hillbilly Knife Fight. Tiffadelic playing outside in the beer garden, and most of the shows are going to be outside. in the beer garden while the weather is as gorgeous as it has been lately. Saturday, the Hourlies and Icy Dicey, which is an AC/DC tribute. I think you probably could have figured that out on your own. Sunday, East Side is still alive. Tuesday through Saturday, the kitchen's open till midnight, sometimes a little later on the weekends. And feather bowling is always available. You can book it online. There's the garage bar, my favorite part to drink in the summer, to have a little refreshment, rehydrate. And, of course, the beer garden. Get there while the weather is still gorgeous. You can book the feather bowling lanes and find out more about all the great stuff going on at the Caju by going to CajuCafe.com. It's the pride of the East Side here in Detroit. So back to the conversation. Boys, you saw some football this weekend. Was everybody happy with what they saw?
Well, Mark was. He's tossing aside his love of really good television to watch football. It's really I rely on him. He's got really good recommendations over the last year, and he's just given up all of a sudden.
No, this is how it works for a lot of football games with me. I start watching it, especially college, expecting a game to be a blowout, and then I'll stop watching it. And that's happened to me with Florida State the last 2 games, which have been really good games.
Oh, my God.
They've gotten beat, one in Ireland and then one last night. But the night games, like USC and LSU, was a great game, so I couldn't turn it off. Plus, there's nothing on TV right now that I'm really excited about watching. No series. Outside of Chimp Crazy on Max, there's not one series that I'm really into.
Is it starring
Really?
Tony Danza?
I don't understand that.
Why? What? I love television.
You got to broaden them out. I mean, like Mike, he's watching shows from over in the UK, you know?
I'm not opposed to that. There's nothing. There's been nothing. I don't know.
Well,
I kind of want to watch the new Jeff Goldblum thing that's on Netflix where he plays Zeus, but
Jeff Goldblum.
I can't even get into that.
That dude, I see him and I'm just like, next.
Really? You don't like Goldblum?
No, you know what? I think he's become a character of who he is. Wherever he always plays Jeff Goldblum. It's like,
so I always know what I'm getting.
I guess so, but you can get the same thing at McDonald's every day, but I don't recommend going there.
Hey, why not?
Clown meat? No way, man. Although I do like a shamrock shake.
That hurts
every once in a
personally.
while.
Have
And
you watched
They got
Guilt?
rid of the yogurt parfait. It's the only thing on the menu I could eat without wanting to pull over and
Jesus.
open my own veins.
Have you watched Guilt?
Guilt. No.
Mark
what is
Menard.
Guilt?
Mike would know him from Shetland. Guilt's a British.
Oh, yeah. He was the restaurateur. He's awesome.
He's fabulous. He's also
Scoundrel.
He's also in Catastrophe, which is a fabulous Sharon. Did you watch Bad Sisters last year?
Yes, the Irish show. Yes, that show is really good.
I thought there was
It's
Derby
great.
Girls.
That's another one. But the lead of that, Bad Sisters, she created a show called Catastrophe, and this guy's in that too. It's great.
What's that on?
There's lots of good stuff out there. You would like Catastrophe. It's angry and cynical, and
What's wrong with watching a lot of football?
Nothing.
nothing.
No. I got to ask you guys about when you're out watching something.
I have a bone to pick with you, by the way. But go ahead,
Me or him?
Mike.
Well, since we're not old pals, I guess we may as well have it out.
No, we're longtime pals. I'm just saying you're not old.
Oh, well, it feels like it.
By the way, I did finish Fallout, so I like that.
Oh, yeah. Follow's
and
great.
Presumed Innocent, I like that. Those were like the last 2 things I finished. That were
See,
good.
Presumed Innocent, the movie was good. I don't need to see it stretched into a series. And I don't want to see...
It's different ending.
Yeah, but I don't want to see Gyllenhaal after seeing him do the reboot of Roadhouse. It's like the only the reason to make
good.
that movie seemed to be I buffed out.
How's Roadhouse?
Look at me oiled
the
up.
remake.
I don't know the previous...
The original is still a total guilty pleasure whenever you're flipping. If anybody still flips,
It's a
right?
great movie.
Does anybody still flip?
If I could change anything in all of movie history, Sam Elliott would not have died in Roadhouse. He would have lived. He would have come out of that swamp at the end when he throws the body of the other guy in there and just said, "It's okay, Cody."
One of the great little
I'll be all right.
meta moments in movie history is when Sam Elliott, of course, is the narrator for The Big Lebowski, and then 3/4 of the movie, through the movie, he shows up at the bar in the bowling alley, right?
Yeah.
And it's talking about sarsaparilla or whatever.
Some of the language is a little tough there, dude. If you could clean it up a little bit,
Isn't that just a great moment, having the narrator step out, float down from the sky, and all of a sudden he's at a bowling alley bar? All right, here's the bone.
Well, I want to get to my thing before we get to your bone.
But it is your thing.
Which actually, I don't ever want to get to your
Who's
bone.
grooming whom now?
It's getting pretty
Come
gross.
on, man. Okay, go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so we, I'm out with a buddy of mine. Mike and lives in Mesquite, and so we always get together when I'm in town. We went to this place called My Bar, which I've driven past for like 35 years. It always looks like a biker bar, but they expanded. They really, and there's nothing wrong with biker bars. In fact, there aren't any bikes there, so it isn't as cool as a biker bar. It just looks like a good place to get punched in the face. So, and it's never a good time to get punched in the face. Those of us who've been punched in the face can attest to that. But there was some major investment made into it where they kind of gussied it up. They cleaned up the exterior. They built a tiki bar, and then they beat like a deck outside, and they put a deck on the top. And so we were going to go to this new brewery on the lake, and they closed at 8, which is insane. So we want to watch a USC LSU game. Sure. So we're like, okay, let's go to My Bar. So we go to My Bar on Sherman and whatever the cross street is. And we go to the tiki bar, and then we go sit outside, and we don't end up watching the game because we get caught up in conversation. And I don't like to talk a lot about politics, and I don't like to share my political views, but we were talking about these wide-ranging topics. And I said, and we're both...
Was that hyphenated? Wide-ranging?
Yes, we're both pro-union. I think Mike is. I certainly am. And happy Labor Day to all my brothers and sisters out there, and up your ass, you free-riding sons of bitches who don't pay your dues. But you know who you are. You know who you are, and so do we. But anyway, we're talking about
what a lovely Labor Day wish.
We were talking about NAFTA, and I said, and about immigration, all this other stuff, and we were just talking, the two of us. And I said, the problem with NAFTA that people don't really talk enough about is that it was supposed to raise the conditions for workers in other countries so that they wouldn't want to immigrate here because their quality of life would be better, and it would raise wages and would raise quality and environmental quality and product quality. And the failure of NAFTA isn't so much the free trade, it's that it didn't level the playing fields. And that's really all we said.
Well, some people would argue that it did improve it, just not as much as people thought it would.
Or as much as it was
Mexico's
intended
a lot
to.
different now than it was before NAFTA.
Sure, but the reason people are coming here is because conditions in Mexico still aren't great
they're
for a
not
lot of
also
people.
they're also not coming from Mexico. They're coming through Mexico.
Exactly.
Well, we didn't even get into that depth of it was just about, it's too bad it didn't raise the quality of living in other countries. And this skinny biatch pipes up. She's like, they just want to come over here and take our jobs and impregnate our women. And I'm like, I don't think anybody wants to impregnate you. But I'm like, what? You're butting in on our conversation? You're just throwing some.
You know what you should have done? You should have
How
tipped
often
her
does this
20,
happen?
You should have tipped her
bars?
$20, one for each leg.
I maybe would have given her 20 cents.
One for 10 cents or a dime for each.
No,
dime for each
This is
game.
what happens when we don't have a guest.
Kind of skinny.
We devolve.
Kind of skinny legs, but
We devolved in 1981. This is, yeah.
I feel like that lady's comments has stuck with him for so long he couldn't wait to tell us that.
well, no, I mean, I go into places and I don't try and overhear people's shit, and I
You
sure
just
as hell
wanna
don't try
offer-
and jump into their conversation. How
No,
often
you
does
just
that
want to
happen?
offer people money for their legs.
That's evil. Mark suggested I didn't offer anything.
I didn't
I'd have
do
given
it.
her
Evil
20
Knievel
bucks to
did.
shut up each of her lips.
Well,
Evil Knievel's
What
one
is it? Is he buying women's legs or is he grooming kids in a Speedo? I want to know.
Oh my God! But how
Both
often
are
does that?
unacceptable.
How often does that happen to you? Where you're just having a sort of a conversation meant for your table, where somebody else chimes in and starts spewing some political rhetoric, and you're like,
Oh,
we're
never.
We're at a bar.
You know
Just
what?
like take
never,
it easy.
Never with politics. Although, never with politics because I just don't. I don't care enough. But I was at German Park. You probably know German Park in Ann Arbor. I was at German Park last year, and I'm in line waiting to get some food there, and these people in front were having the worst conversation, and I honestly wanted to shoot myself in the head. It was that bad of a conversation, like just very stereotypical guys that make beer talking about beer. It was just going on and on and on.
Yeah.
And at one point, I wanted to interject with a comment, and I'm like, no, if I do that.
What were you going to say?
I can't remember what the topic was, but it was a very self-deprecating type of comment.
Did you say, like, are you going
But-
to talk all day about IPA? Fellas, I'm just going to say, hey, my name's Mark Fella. Good to see you. How you been?
Self-deprecation.
Have you seen the
probably
Connor
is not-
Stallions doc? It's great.
Probably not part of their lexicon, right?
Maybe. But I knew that if I did that, kind of maybe this
Sorry,
is what,
by the way, for
maybe
the
this is what-
Elrickian word.
Maybe this is what that waitress wanted. Is
What-
she
what
wanted
word
to
is
be
that?
involved
Lexicon.
Oh.
I just didn't want to be involved in the conversation after that one comment, so I just stood
He
there
didn't want to
silently.
cross the
Which I-
lexicon.
So you
even
pretended
stopped the
to
ventilation?
hide your ears. So you pretended to
No,
hold.
I went back to fantasizing about just getting out of that line and going away.
Toby, who was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre creator?
Toby Hooper.
Toby Hooper style. He's in the Montgomery Ward, right? And it's a Christmas and it's a crowd, and he thinks, I got to get out of here. I'm going to cut my way out with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
The inspiration of the movie. That was you in Germantown.
Pretty much. German Park, yeah.
German Park, sorry.
But it came into my mind because I figured that lady probably wanted to get involved in your conversation more than what you allowed her to.
What'd you order, by the way? Just beer or did you get some food?
I got food there.
What'd you get?
Have you ever been?
I don't know if I have.
It's outside Ann Arbor on Pontiac Trail. It's just, you just get whatever they make. It's like...
Schnitzel?
I don't think there was any schnitzel. Spatzel, though.
Spetzel?
Oh, nice.
It was fine. It's good. It's a fun time to go. I mean, they're done now. They only do it 3 times a year.
So now that the fun stuff's over, should we get to Sean's small bone?
Yeah, what is your bone?
He's been
I know because
he's been waiting for that to say that for a while. Actually,
it's been driving him nuts. That you have a bone to pick with him and you haven't said it.
I'm just bracing.
He's been sitting on that one for a while. So
gross.
To speak, hasn't he?
Sitting on that bone.
Oh, he can feel that.
We seem to have a theme today.
Start picking on it.
Oh my God!
Let's hear it.
What has happened? Can we just go back to Baywatch?
If those of you are Patreon subscribers for as little as $5 who are watching this show, you see Sean rubbing the microphone. He's getting ready. That's the tell. That's the tell. You know what it is?
Hear it if
I
you're
got
listening.
nothing.
It's like he's loading the cannon.
You can hear that, right?
Yeah. He put the load in, then he put the wad in, now he put the gunpowder. Now he's ramming it in there, and he's getting ready to light it, and it's going to explode. I was going to say in my face, but this is already, there's too many drops in this show.
It's a great cannon scene in Shogun, by the way, where they're loading it up. Yeah, I don't know. Let's go
Start picking.
Let's go back to Shogun.
Where's the bone?
No. So here's the thing, and Marco, I think will probably back me up on this. Mike apparently was at the home opener for Michigan State Friday night. Michigan State played.
Apparently, where else would I be?
Michigan State hosted Florida Atlantic. FAU. You know, not the prettiest game.
We're almost SOL.
Take the over.
He takes a picture of himself, as he obviously loves to do, and posts it on, I want to say Facebook, maybe with some other social media
Twitter.
outlet.
I don't do Facebook.
Okay, he's on Twitter. And basically he's talking about how he was bored. And I just thought, oh, okay, I see. This really is, if you say you're bored, that means you think of this as entertainment. It is entertainment. So that was a public admission that he's there to entertain himself, but he doesn't want anybody to get paid. And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe he's posting that he's bored at an event where he just wants everybody to fight for school spirit.
No, I want
You
people
know what I mean, Mark?
No, that was your post right there.
What was it?
You posted that.
Sorry.
You posted an old post because you said you were bored.
Yeah, so I dug up the greatest hits. That was...
So he's going expecting
Those of you watching
to be,
us, that's
amused
worth
and
$5 a month
entertained.
right there for busting a move.
You know what I mean,
In
Mark?
the snow.
But you posted this lovely picture. It's a nice, beautiful picture of the sky.
Oh, look at that. It's a beautiful night for football in East
Well, what are all
Lansing.
those empty seats there?
Those are the cake eaters. Those are the sweet holders. This is in the second.
You think
not
they
as
were
sweet, is
You
it?
think they were bored too?
Those...
You don't have a right to go to a college football game with
What is
your
this? Is that an advertisement?
archaic views.
I don't
on
see Hitler there.
them getting paid.
He's
So
supposed
it's a win.
He's supposed to be up there, yeah.
No, he doesn't have a right to go and
Yeah,
say he's bored.
The new sponsorship from Mussolini's restaurant already controversial in East Lansing.
That advertisement reminded me of something. Sean, you were at the Michigan game, correct?
I was.
I don't know how close you were paying attention. I haven't seen anybody else mention this. But I don't ever remember them doing something on the field that was sponsored. Do you? I mean, isn't that like a big...
I wasn't paying attention. I was watching the game.
Michigan's big thing is, no advertisements inside the stadium. You just
Really?
don't- Yeah, there's no ads on the
didn't notice
scoreboard.
that.
There's no ads in the stadium. If you're in your seat, you don't see commercials. But then they did a thing in a break, I really don't care.
Well, the flyovers commercial. The in this case, it was a paratrooper coming in, right? With an American flag.
I mean, I know
that's a commercial.
I know. Is it though?
For what? For America?
Or is that entertainment?
No, they paid to have that right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
the
I mean,
flyovers are paid for?
the military.
all flyovers are paid.
Oh yeah,
What?
You didn't know that? All flyovers are paid for.
yeah. It's an advertisement.
By you and me, the taxpayers?
No, but by the university, by the
Yeah.
athletic department.
Oh, no. I figured they paid for them. I think what Sean is saying is that the guy who parachuted paid to do that. He was a paid advertisement.
No, he was paid to do it because they were a parachute group. They weren't.
Oh,
they weren't military.
Fine, whatever.
No, but they had the American
Flyover
flag.
was military,
but they had the American
Sure.
flag, and that is, in its sense, an advertisement. It is.
Yeah, but you didn't know who that group was or how to contact them or anything. I was talking about they did a thing on the field, like a little, I guess they called it like an obstacle course, and it was sponsored by YouTube and the NFL Ticket, which I thought was kind of interesting because I don't ever remember hearing that, but I haven't seen anybody else comment on that. It was just kind of odd.
What do you think of all the hippies in Ann Arbor and their view
hippies in Ann Arbor?
of the flyover? You know, there are not that many left, but you know what I mean?
No, I
That's
don't
a
know.
jingoistic display of imperial power, man.
Exactly.
I don't get your blood on me, man.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't think they're at the football game. I think they're at the quad chopping
So I
something
can
up.
see that B1 when it's circling over downtown after it's gone over the stadium.
but isn't that the kind of crazy thing about college football is the disconnect between what the fan base is and what students at the university are?
Well, it's really mixed because it's funny because I wrote a column and was having a little bit fun with the entitled attitude of some U of M fans. Because,
What?
Because they were
What do you mean-
booing.
What do you mean,
They
some?
were booing in a game they were winning in the first game of a new coach's era.
Like I
with a
told
new-
you, we
with
were
a new quarterback, a new
booing the
coach.
decision not to give Alex Orgy a series.
Yeah, it's because
Because you hate cancer, boy?
because you're Georgia.
I
all of a
don't like
sudden.
cancer.
Anyway, it was interesting. I got an email from a reader who was upset that I'd used the words entitled, and he said, from the booing of a few 18-year-olds. And I politely wrote him back, and I was grateful for the readership and the email, and they took the time to write, and I think it's great. But I politely pointed out, no, the 18-year-olds are not the ones booing. The students aren't that entitled. I mean, maybe they're entitled in a different way. You can argue all that. But the $10,000 designers of their dorm rooms, that's a whole different matter, though. But the students are not the ones booing.
Well,
It's the people your age in that stadium booing.
Well, I wasn't booing. I was more mystified as to.
You were surrounded by booers, though.
Oh, without a doubt. But it wasn't. I've heard much worse there. But now that you know that players get paid with NIL, is still you're not allowed to boo? Because that's been brought up before. It's like, well, now we know they're being paid, so it's okay to boo these people. Do you have a problem with that still?
I don't like it because I just don't like it. But I especially didn't like it in the context.
Do you like it in
of
the
a
pros?
new coach in his first game with a new quarterback?
No, you're right. You're
That's
right.
all.
It's very impatient, but we're a
That's all.
very impatient fan base.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's one way of putting it.
I mean, national championship or not, we've always been pretty impatient.
Absolutely.
You've always had a different idea of yourselves from the way a lot of other folks on the outside think of you.
What's wrong with having high expectations?
It's the same thing. You guys are you guys have the same delusion as a dude who wears a Speedo to the beach. You're like, look at this. And everybody's like, don't look at that. Horrible.
It's not a bad
Are you
description.
saying Connor Stallions was our potato?
I'm telling you, I'd like to mash
What's
him.
the reference to the potato? I don't understand.
You've never heard that stupid joke?
No, I'm thinking about Sean's potato story from a couple episodes ago. No, what's another
boy.
potato reference?
Oh, you're
I
talking
hate
about
jokes, but I'll tell you.
You're talking about
What's it
putting a
with you
potato
guys from
in.
Ann Arbor and potatoes?
You're talking about putting a potato in the Speedo?
That's the joke. Yeah, that's the punchline, basically.
That's pretty wide.
Close to the front.
Yeah, it better be a sweet potato.
Well, now that the joke's ruined, I'll just tell
Is
it
it
really
more
quick.
of a yam?
A guy was on the
exactly.
beach and he saw another guy getting all these
Kinda
chicks,
pointy.
and he didn't think he was terribly attractive. And he said, "What's your secret to landing all these chicks?" And the guy goes, "Oh, it's great. I just take a potato and put it in my bathing suit, and chicks just come flocking to me." So the next day, the first guy does that, walks down the beach, can't get a number from anything, and he sees the guy again, and he said, "I did what you said. I got a potato. I put it in my pants, and it's not working." The guy looks down and looks at him and goes, "The potato's supposed to go in the front." See, it's not a bad joke.
No, that's a
That's pretty good.
Stupid, but it's not. Sean loves it.
And if that guy ran into Sean's old roommate, he'd be in for a big surprise.
That has been the dumbest joke that I've just like it drives my wife nuts because I always make reference to it. And so when Charlotte was a little baby, she has a whole like kitchen set and with a fake potato, and used to always put it in the back of her pants for the joke. I don't know. That's what I do.
That's
Beat a joke to death
that's good
ad
stuff.
nauseum.
Oh God, that's
Very
great.
good stuff. Well, so
So we're not allowed to boo college athletes. Is the point?
No, boo. I mean, you can boo whatever you want. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I just don't like it. I especially don't. I didn't like it in the context Saturday. I thought it was. I just thought, oh my God, this fan base thinks that they won the natty.
They've
and-
always been fickle, like most fan bases, but they're particularly fickle because they're spoiled and entitled.
Oh fuck you! We're not spoiled and entitled. What are you talking about?
Absolutely.
You're not spoiled, but you're entitled. I wouldn't say spoiled.
Well, we just expect to be the leaders and best.
By the way, one of the
You might be.
a reader didn't like the word entitled that I used. It said it rankled him. I thought if y'all heard that word in a while, that's a great,
Rankled?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great.
I'd say if you're using the word rankled,
It's a great word.
what's your problem with entitled?
I thought that was cool that he used the word rankled.
Was he being pusillanimous?
No, he said that it was I was unprofessional and that it rankled. He was rankled. And I thought rankled is great.
Did you tell him to get his iron out and unrankle himself?
Oh, I thought you were going to say arnica.
Arnica.
It's a thing to help your thighs after you've carried around too many potatoes in your cereal.
Well, maybe time to get to the geek of the week because it's getting a little dense in here.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek? Or we're turning into a
You okay over there, Sean?
Yeah.
You know, if
I don't make myself laugh very often. Sorry.
if Dr. Yaldo dealt with respiratory issues, we could get him over here. But instead, he deals with perfect vision. And if you go to Dr. Yaldo, you can get better than perfect vision. He can't do anything about perfect diction, but he can help you with the perfect vision. Mark and I have both had LASIK surgery. We both see 20/15, which means we see better
You miss nothing.
than those of you at 20/20. No, we're like hawks. We're like eagles.
You can see those potatoes from a mile away.
It depends. Are they walking
Front or
towards
back?
us or away from us? That's a key. And you do want to have better than perfect vision. If you see a guy with a potato in the back of his pants walking towards you, that's a cue to run.
Probably smell it first.
He's probably looking for CJ. But the thing is, when you get older, as I am, despite what Shawn may have you believe, it gets harder to see up close. And you can get multifocal lens implants from Dr. Yaldo that can help you see without glasses, contacts, any assistance up close or far away. To find out how to do this, check out YaldoEyeCenter.com. You can find a link to Dr. Y's website at our website. And if you go see Dr. Y, tell him ML sent you. So this week's geek, I want people to hear me here. I don't want anybody to jump to any conclusions. My geek is going to be Michigan lawmakers because they just passed something called Melody's Law. Have you heard of Melody's Law?
No, I have not.
This is a bill that criminalizes necrophilia.
Oh, yeah, I did.
In Michigan.
Okay.
Apparently, it comes from a case involving a retired nurse who was killed in 2021. I'm not sure how she inspired this ban on necrophilia for her sake. I'm afraid to speculate on what it is. But during the course of this investigation into her death, prosecutors discovered, and this is written by my colleague Claire Hendrickson, that sexually violating a dead body isn't a crime in Michigan. And so there's a new law that will make it a 15-year felony to have sex with a corpse, and sexual contact will get you 2 years in the pen. Offenders will also be added to Michigan's
Does this
sex
happen a
offender
lot?
registry. I don't know, but the reason why I'm saying lawmakers should be our geek, and I'm glad that this is now part of our criminal code, but
Well, yeah, but
do you really think people are doing it because they think it's legal? It's
Yeah, it's not a deterrent.
It's just like, this is okay, so I'm going to do it. And now there's a law. Oh, yeah, okay, that's not weird. It's not creepy. I'm not going to do it anymore. So,
I'd say that about a lot of laws, though.
yeah. So, well, I wrote a story almost 25
Is the
years
death
ago.
penalty a deterrent?
If you're killed, you don't do it again, but sometimes they may
if
get
you're
the
the
wrong
murderer.
people. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. If you're killed because of the death penalty, the recidivism is out of the picture, but that's a whole nother topic. But when I was working in the Macomb Bureau of the Free Press, I did a story on a guy who sold his daughter for weed, and they had to charge him with all kinds of things because it turns out at the time
Nobody
you
thought
could
that someone
sell
would
your
do that?
kids. I mean, like in 2020, I mean, in the year 2000 in Michigan, you could sell a child and it wasn't illegal. So that's been banned. But yeah, lawmakers, if you think that's going to stop the creeps from getting creepy, you're not just delusional. You're our Geek of the Week.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
Before we try and lighten the mood with a little unusual music, I have to tell you about something I heard recently. And it was from the best celebrities, in fact, that if Donald Trump wins in November, it's the end of our nation. Then I heard from some other people, Scott Baio maybe, that if Kamala Harris wins in November, could have been Hulk Hogan, it's the end of our nation. Since it appears that you may be screwed either way, why not ask Luke Nowacki for help managing your investment portfolio as the country implodes like the last days of Pompeii? What do you have to lose? You can't lose more than 100%. And when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Mosaic Wealth. Inc. member FINRA SIPC. Mosaic Wealth. Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent. Mosaic Wealth. Inc.
So we're going to play a piece of music that has been almost impossible to find for like 50 years. It's by a band.
How many people were looking for it?
Well, that's the problem. But the people who are looking for it, these are people who are substantial. This is Michael Stipe of REM. This is the B-52s, because this was a band from Athens, Georgia, called Limbo District, that they claim influenced them more than any act they had ever seen before, and in fact inspired them and launched their careers. And at one time, Mitch Easter, which is a name I think Shawn knows, had produced some Limbo District music. It was lost forever, but we've uncovered some of it this week. It's called, this particular ditty is called À la Maison, which is French for At the House. So Limbo,
awful.
Limbo District is apparently an acquired taste. But Michael Stipe says, I thought I'd landed in a hippie cow town of his first months as an art student in Athens, Georgia, home of the University of Georgia. I was an urban punk rocker, and Athens seemed beige and granola. It took me a while to find my people. But in 1979, at the only coffee house still open after Stipe's night shift at the local steakhouse, he tells The Guardian, he saw this unbelievable, almost cartoonish trio who looked like stepped out of the Weimar Republic. That's always a winning trait. He says, I waved at them. They waved back. This was a band that later became Limbo District, which was considered the most radical group of the Athens underground scene in the 1970s. They gave the world the B-52s, Pylon, and REM. And while all those bands, I don't know Pylon very well, became mega stars, Limbo District just kind of kicked around for a few years. The players went separate ways. They sort of fell apart. One woman was Spanish. She went somewhere else. One woman was French. She went back to France. A couple of the guys were gay, which back then, nobody in Georgia was strutting around saying, hey, I'm gay. They didn't seem to be shy about it. Victims of AIDS. And the leader of the band died at 69 not too long ago, or 68 maybe, in his backyard where he became an artist. Anyways, very, very influential band, very interesting story. And this is really a cautionary tale. If you do not send us good songs for Room 769 with good stories,
Shawn,
I will come up.
I had one all set to go.
I will come up with the occasional Limbo District just to keep you on your toes. Shawn, did that sound like you said you thought you heard Talking Heads?
Yeah, a tiny bit.
Can hear that.
Sounded a little bit like Johnny Rotten to me. Johnny Lydon. That
Yeah.
sing-songy.
It also sounded terrible.
So their music was
terrible.
Supposedly produced by Mitch Easter, who was a major producer in that area at that time. They never released any music, but recently one of the members of the band came up with some recordings, and now somebody's trying to master them, which good luck, and put them out. But they also probably got their only exposure in the 1987 documentary Athens, Georgia, Inside and Out, which some of you who really like REM and some of those bands from that era may have seen. But Michael Stipe, despite what you may have just heard, said they were one of the greatest bands on earth. So
speaking of hockey, I like your new hoodie with the hockey strings.
So I'm a little confused where we were talking about hockey. But I am very pleased to be wearing my new merchandise.
We weren't.
Okay.
That's why it was a great segue.
I have a little bone for you, Shawn.
Very tidy one.
Those of you who got your merchandise,
I probably wouldn't feel it.
Very grateful for your patience. If you missed out, if you're watching us, I am wearing this is one of our new items. This is the hockey lace-up hoodie, which I cut the hood off because I don't like the hood.
Don't say that about yourself.
So
you look fetching in that, and you have a very large bone.
So we will have, just moving on, we will have more merchandise for sale closer to the holidays. So if you missed out, come October, November, we will be flogging some more fine wares for you to get, and very happy with our partners who are making some really cool gear for us. So
that's awesome. By the way, have we ever talked about the best? Have we ever talked about
so dismissive?
Have we ever? No, seriously. He looks great, and he was kind enough to share.
Yeah. So anyway, what we're gonna say?
No. Mike's been using the theme of the bone the whole show. Have we ever talked about one of the best road signs in America? It happens to be just
Big Bone Lick.
Big Bone Lick.
Yeah, I know it well.
Really?
Just south of Cincinnati on your way up. You see it coming north, actually, on 75, coming up through Kentucky to into Ohio. There's this sign that says Big Bone Lick State Park.
I had some friends who got, I don't want to say arrested, let's just say detained for trying to steal the Climax sign off the highway in Michigan, outside of Climax, Michigan. But nobody's been arrested trying to get the Big Beaver sign for exit 69 in northbound 75. I'd say that's a pretty strong candidate.
It is. But who thought the name it Big Bone Lick?
I don't know. What does it really mean? Does it really mean something else?
I don't know. It might. What is it, like a scarp? Not an escarpment. What am I thinking? Like
snafu?
You're somewhere in the park and there's an outcropping and it's salt.
Escarpment?
And you want to lick it?
So it's in Big Bone, which is the name of the place. What is a lick? Does a lick mean? Oh, a salt lick. Okay.
So I was right. So salt.
Yeah.
I'm not usually right, but wow.
Mammoths were drawn to the area because of the salt lick.
You will find a lot of potatoes in the pants of the gentleman at the beach in Big Bone Lake.
Mammoths like to lick the salt and they have big bones. Is that
so there's a lot of fossil deposits at the park.
And when these very serious people of the civil engineering, in Kentucky, the state, whatever, in the 50s, they probably didn't think that we were going to
be a bunch of children.
Heathens were going to be thinking
1960, but yeah.
1960, okay.
Well, we're not the one banning books, so I don't know that you can put it on us. I think they didn't anticipate our perhaps more puritanical streak once we get into the 2020s, but so be it. I want to thank our donors. Oh, by the way, if you have a suggestion for room 769, please send it to us at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. We'll play just about anything. I think we've proven that, but we got to have a story with it. So while Limbo District...
No stories.
Not something you're going to put on the turntable in the 8-track or load up on your Spotify account. The fact that they have been so highly regarded by REM and B-52s makes them worthy of a reservation here in the New Wave Suite, which we call Room 7609. So we want to also thank some other sponsors, because I deal with a lot of people in Detroit and elsewhere who like to play games, but if you really want to come play a game with me, Come Play Detroit is my choice for softball and volleyball, but they have a wide range of sports from pickleball to kickball to outdoor volleyball. Indoor volleyball will be starting very soon. They play year-round, offering everything from one-day tournaments to seasons that last 8 to 10 weeks. Sign up as an individual, as part of a small group, as a full team. Either way, Come Play Detroit will find the right fit for you. And you know me, you know I like a good deal. ComePlayDetroit.com. Go there. Register as an individual and get 10% off with promo code SOUL. That's promo code SOUL, ComePlayDetroit.com. When you register for 10% off, it's a great way to get in the game and to support our show. Another good way to support our show and have a good time at the same time is to take advantage of summer before it's gone and book your tour on Detroit's favorite party bike, the Michigan Peddler. 15 people can enjoy 2 hours touring and pedaling through Corktown, Midtown, downtown by the train station, stopping for pictures and perhaps a beverage or two. The Michigan Peddler offers the longest tours in Detroit, seat backs, and the friendliest staff to make your experience one to remember. Book your tour at MichiganPeddler.com. That's Michigan, PEDLER.com. As an exclusive for our listeners, you get the only promo code that's so cool, it's got our name on it. It's ML Soul. You put it in the promo code area, you'll save $40 off the price of one of their 15-passenger party bike tours. That's MichiganPeddler.com. We'll have a link to their website at our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. Just a little feedback, fellas. Calvin writes, and I have to agree with Calvin, ML's wife had a great piece on a tragic Grosse Pointe car accident.
She did.
With an 18-year-old victim's family seeking to hold the driver's mother accountable for the death of their son in a car accident. The piece went viral. The argument is the mother knew full well and was complicit in her 16-year-old son's reckless behavior. Under that same law, should the Detroit parents of the 14-year-old victims at the State Fair in Novi this weekend also be criminally charged by the Wayne or Oakland County prosecutor? From what I could quickly find online, the teen victims were known gang members with full-body tattoos, designer clothes, videos, brandishing guns, lots of cash, and they even took Uber to the fair from Detroit. But how many gang members are going to the State Fair in Novi? That's kind of a weird venue. Calvin says it's a sexy story when a rich suburban kid's mom ought to be criminally charged for her spoiled brat's behavior, but I've never heard anyone arguing for inner city parents to be held accountable for their children's behavior. Well, Calvin, I don't think that's true, and you do see lots of cases where people who find a gun in their parents' house, either in the suburbs of Detroit or in the city of Detroit, or even as far as there's a little town near Flint. Shawn, you've spent some time in Flint. You may know the place I'm talking of. This is about 20 years ago. Ben Schmidt wrote about it, where a mother and her boyfriend had left a gun lying around and a kid killed another kid, Mount Morris. And there were charges brought there because somebody was irresponsible with a gun. Now, I'll tell you, Calvin, I don't know the full details of what happened at the State Fairgrounds.
Have they even caught the...
I got the first interview with her. Not that it was through Sam Riddle, and Sam Riddle got drunk and puked out the back of my car with her in the back. Anyway, that's another story.
Well, we'll get back to the interview.
That sounds like a great story.
So you know the mother I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, and I can't remember whether she was ultimately convicted or not, but this does happen to people and Mount Morris, by the way, very, very economically challenged community. So this does happen to people in poor towns too. But, Calvin, again, not knowing all the details of this state fair incident.
Well, I don't think they've caught the shooter.
Oh, okay.
I think they're still trying to identify the shooter. They
Okay.
identified the victim. Goes to school not far from here at University High.
Well, I think what Teresa's story gets to, and you can find that at freep.com, is this like the next logical step from Karen McDonald, the Oakland County prosecutor, charging the Oxford High School shooter's parents with being complicit in that massacre. And I think the distinction I would draw based on the little we know so far about the state fairground shooting or the state fair shooting is that this mother in Grosse Pointe, she knew her son was driving way too fast, like 130 miles an hour, and not just like shooting down the street for sustained periods of time. She had an app that tracked him, and she was telling him for many months, "You're scaring me to death. Slow the F down. Stop doing this." And even though she knew this, and was terrified that he might hurt himself and presumably somebody else, she then got him an even faster car, an M-Series BMW. If you know anything about BMWs, they're very fast. Well, the M-Series is basically their souped-up racing series. She went and basically took a kid who was acting recklessly and gave him the means to continue acting recklessly. And it's a complicated case. This kid was apparently a sweet kid, and the family had problems. And
that's what I was going to say. It sounded like they wouldn't be able to stop him anyway.
Oh, fine, but you know what? Then put him in a
tricky.
Then put him in a car with a governor on it. So you can't go more than 65 miles an hour.
Don't put him in a car is pretty much the best answer.
Sure, although
is that realistic?
Kids have to get to and fro, and it sounds like the kid gave his mom a hard time sometimes. I mean, listen,
the kid sounds like a disaster.
Yeah, I don't want to try and say poor little rich kid, but rich people have problems too. Of course, they have money that helps solve them, so that's where they got an advantage over the rest of us. But this isn't a matter of crucifying a wealthy suburbanite and letting poor people go. There are poor people who are involved in crimes where the parents may bear some responsibility, where they have been charged with crimes. But this story about Teresa, when you read it, the young man who was killed sounds like about the best dude you would ever want to meet. Mm-hmm. And his friend was just out of control with the car. And those of us who were motorheads when we got our license, I thank God every day that I didn't hurt anybody or kill myself when I was driving way too fast and running through leaf piles and doing all kinds of stupid shit. But in this case, it seems like Mom may have given him some of the means to this.
At the same time, the investigators did say that, he would take Mom's credit card without permission. He would sneak out and drive overnight without permission. It's tricky, man.
Yeah, she couldn't put him under house arrest, and that's why this case.
Because you could always do more, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, are you going to send them to reform school? Are you going to, what are you going to do? Kids
I just mean
break
in any
out of
situation,
reform schools? Yeah.
You can always do more. I mean, nothing's perfect.
No, this is hard, and it sounds like this mom had her hands full. But yeah, it's, a young man who, by all accounts, was a superb human being is gone.
She knew he had a fake ID, though, too, which is also...
Although, geez, what kid doesn't these days? It seems like they're easier to get. Now, that's the other thing. Some of these kids who have the fake IDs, I've seen someone says, dude, you don't look 28.
Yeah.
And you're not from Minnesota. Why are you flashing that ID? But people get away with it because folks don't want to stop them. So Kevin, I get your point, but I would just suggest that this isn't just a case of the super wealthy being taken to task. It happens.
The mom also tried to stop him from using the car one night, and he broke a table. I mean, he got physical. And then he, said, hey, now we're running late and you have a broken table. I mean, the kid sounds like just a reckless maniac.
Well, with that logic, he should have been on the debate team. He seems like he'd be unstoppable in the forensic competition.
Gaslighting competition?
Sure, yeah. Maybe he'll focus on those.
Everything's Mom's fault.
Those talents while he's well, he's a ward of the state, or at least a guest at our criminal institutions, because I have a feeling he's going to have some hard time beating a rap in this.
22 calls to police involving this kid, and most of them were about him being out of control and breaking stuff in the house.
Those are calls from mom.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got to.
So is she trying? Is she trying to do something? Yeah. I don't know.
She tried. She failed. But you got to take them keys.
Now there's a death, yeah.
Got to take the keys. Got to do that. So I had a piece this weekend. If you haven't seen it, folks, check it out. One of the most difficult cases that I've written about in 30 years, not because the stakes were so high, but because there were all kinds of indications that somebody did something illegal, but there was enough problems with the paperwork that it wasn't clear whether it was willful or not, and it involved a candidate for Macomb County Sheriff who was getting a tax break he did not deserve in Lapeer County. He claims it was all just a paperwork mistake. But
the one question I had after reading it was, do you know how much we're talking about? Like how much the break was tax-wise? Because it's 3 years.
Right. Well, that's the other thing is it's not a huge amount of money because the tax rate in horse country out there is very low. So it looks, if you believe the candidate, his name is Terrence McCoskey. He's a Republican running to unseat Democratic incumbent Anthony Wickersham. He says, you know what, we just filed the paperwork and some people filled some stuff in and, whatever, and so on and so forth. And that's his explanation. He said the handwriting looks different in some parts of it where there's dates filled in and everything. But then there's other things where at the bottom of it says, you're signing this under penalty of perjury and you're only signing if this is your principal residence. To those of us who have a home where we get a principal residence exemption, that's a tax break you get for the place where you live, where you lay your head, and also have investment properties like our rentals in East Lansing. When you go through all the paperwork, you know what you're signing if you're paying attention, and you don't sign something that says you're entitled to a tax break that you're not entitled to.
Well, the biggest tell that he was doing something wrong is when he got busted, or not busted, but when he went to amend it, he could have paid it all back then. The stoppage date.
Yeah, and he says, so I guess if you're cynical, you could say, well, he rescinded it because he was running for sheriff and was worried it could come back to haunt him. Or you could believe what he says, which is that his realtor pointed out, hey, you got a PRE on this. Isn't this an investment property? And he said, oh, yeah, I'm going to rescind it. And he put the date, presumably that the realtor told him because he used the date in October 2023. He said he found out in October 2023 and said, please don't give me this tax break as of October 28th, 2023. Yeah. And when I pointed out to him, it's like, well, if you realize this was a mistake and you weren't entitled to taxes, why didn't you say make it go all the way back to 2020? That's when he stopped answering my questions. You can take from that what you will.
Sounds like he was just trying to weasel some tax savings, but then when you get caught, just pay back.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a pretty big bone of contention.
And it's a big potato coming out of your shorts. But he's could be a rutabaga.
Welcome back, Shawn.
Yeah, no, I'm more of a parsnip kind of.
Really?
Okay. I mean,
your pants?
Maybe a small carrot.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like
maybe
a carrot,
like a baby carrot.
Looks like a cherry tomato.
It's been bitten in half.
Yeah, baby carrot with a couple of radishes, but I think readers
couple of peas
have passed their own judgment, and I encourage you to read this. We'll have a link to this column on our website, which is mlsouldetroit.com. I wrote it and just said, you know what, folks, here's all the evidence, and you decide. And based on the feedback I've been getting from our readers, they think that he's playing fast and loose and trying to get a little too cute.
Sure.
But I encourage you to take a look and make your own judgment. We have lots of great stuff there. Shawn Windsor is going to be going into madman mode where he's just writing about football and college sports.
It begins.
And probably the Lions, and pretty soon
it begins.
The Spartans and Wolverines and Pistons and Red Wings, and the Tigers are looking like a playoff
This
team.
is the busy season.
They're threatening.
Yeah. 6-7 days a week for a while.
Yeah, and luckily he has his handsome new ML Soul Detroit sweatshirt to wear.
There
He's got in the gray. He's also got his heather blue from our previous merch.
I like to have Mike close to my heart, so I love to wear this. It's very nice.
Great male model there.
We are old
Yeah,
pals.
the fist is right between my large sagging breasts. I think that's nice.
Okay, maybe we'll get you. Maybe we'll get you
potato.
a polo next time.
Or a bro. You know, a men's ear.
I don't know if I want to motorboat Shawn even vicariously.
Oh.
Next week, we're expecting to have a couple of great guests. Eli Zarrett will be here to talk about the 1984 Tigers and his book, which...
He probably won't want to motorboat anybody.
Eli?
No.
He enjoys water sports. But Eli said that Elmore Leonard told him his book on the 1984 Tigers was the best book about the Tigers he's ever read, and Elmore Leonard knows a little bit about books. And we're also hoping to be joined by Bill Morris, who wrote a book that's on sale this week called The Lions Finally Roar, The Ford Family, the Detroit Lions, and the Road to Redemption in the NFL. Now, if you're like me, you're like, I don't care about that, but I am interested in this book, and I'll tell you why. Eli said that Bill Morris was William Clay Ford's basically shadow and was with him for decades when all these deals came down, even from the moment when William Clay Ford said, I want to be the sole owner of the Lions someday. And apparently, this is a story that is unflinching. He tells you what was going on, the things behind the headlines, and apparently, even though they're great friends, there's some stories here that I think it's safe to say William Clay Ford would not want told. So if you get a chance to pick up a copy of the Lions Finally War, please do so. If you can't quite get to it, we're going to have another edition of the ML Solo Detroit Book Club next week. It's a twofer, folks. Bill Morris and our friend Eli Zarrett. So please check it out.
Sounds
and
great.
Please sign up on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. You can see the show. You hear the show before anybody else. There are fewer ads in it, and you can get our bonus episodes. We will be posting another one soon.
Is this a bonus episode?
It's getting close. It's getting close.
I mean, did we stop? I mean, we wrapped up, and this is a bonus episode, right?
That's the part where you blacked out.
Yeah, I think
You
so.
stopped talking for a while.
I think
Yeah,
so.
Shawn-
You get into true crime, and I'm like, yeah, the world's hard enough. Come on.
You were interrupting me as I was just about to say
Boo, I'm
some
just
of your
booing
favorite
you.
words, which are Cyrus. Take us out.
Oh, well, you caught me off guard there.
Yeah, you did. You look.
Can
good,
you
though.
dig it?
You look.
Can
good, though.
you dig it?
Dig it! Can you dig it?
Yes, our governmental housekeeper, the
Soul of Detroit.
has a most important and vital job in maintaining the comfort and welfare of every citizen of the United States.